Welcome back to the neighborhood, boys and girls. Our first guest tonight is fellow Crown Mortgage employee Matt Brady. Matt, welcome to the neighborhood, my man.
Thanks for having me, man.
Awesome, man. Welcome. Have we had any Crown employees? Well, we had Rick, but we haven't had any Crown employees outside of the building. So it's awesome to have you. It's a pretty cool group to be a part of. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. Because we're both kind of recent transplants.
Yeah.
It's been amazing here so far. I mean, I've worked at Annie Mac, Green Tree, both great companies, nothing bad to say. But Crown really does seem to have like this camaraderie of in together and, just really willing to, I just asked my manager if we could try to get a loan program the other day. She's like, yeah, sure. And she went out and got the paperwork for them to set up a broker, which is, I love and nice. And yeah, I mean, how are you liking it?
So the biggest thing that I've noticed is a lot of companies, I won't ever talk about anyone specifically, but a lot of companies that always felt like sales was fighting with ops. You know what I mean? Like ops thought you were trying to get one over on them. The underwriter thought you were trying to be sneaky or whatever. And here it's like, I'm not used to being able to, being a branch manager, I can call the underwriter and talk to them. Right. But normally they're like, don't let your LOs call here. Don't let anybody bother us. We're too busy, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, no, have the LO call and talk to the underwriter. Right. And I'm like, any of my LOs can call and talk? And they're like, yeah. So it's good to feel like we're really trying to get loans closed. You know what I mean? I never get the feeling so far that the underwriters or the back end staff is looking for reasons to deny a loan. Like I kind of got that feeling other places that I worked at. Somebody looked at it, they don't like what they see, so now they're like, kill it. We want to get this out of here. I haven't gotten that feeling. Yeah. And do you use Mark a lot, Mark Kaplan?
Yeah.
He's such an awesome resource. I don't want to kiss his ass too much because he'll watch this and feel like I'm bigging him up too much. But I've been doing it for 20 years, kind of like him, but he just has a different experience than me, and it's good to have somebody that I can call that's not going to be 12 hours to call me back, and I can just call and say, yo, I'm thinking this, but I'm not sure, what do you think? And he's there to do it,
Well, definitely. I mean, that was kind of my concern coming over to Crown, was because, I worked at Annie Mac, was a big company, nationwide, and then I went to Green Tree, was a very small company. So I kind of like that small field Green Tree had where, the underwriter's right there. We could talk, chat. If I need anything, they were more focused on, just getting the loan done. If it doesn't work this way, try it this way, Matt, or, we'll do this. So that was my concern with Crown because, we're backed under Absolute, big nationwide company. And I assume that maybe bigger companies are more under the the IRS and being audited or whatever, so they have to be more like, dots in a row, or we can't allow for any exception or anything. But no, I mean, it seems like, hey, if it doesn't work this way, try this, or this is why we got this loan program now. So if it doesn't work, put it in this one.
Yeah. I've been like you. I've been at big companies and small companies, and it's always grass is greener kind of thing. When you're at the big company, you're like, man, I wish I had some small time, care and customer service. Then you're at the small company, you're like, man, I wish I had some of these programs. Like, hey, why can't I do this or that? So Crown seems to be the good mix of both. We have the parent company of Absolute. Again, not kissing anybody's ass, but Matt Van Fossen is like a tech genius. Like that's how he got in the business. So we have a lot of the stuff at our fingertips here, but we still get the small mom and pop feeling with Mark and the people up there that are doing the stuff. And we've had phone calls like, hey, look, I never got a call like, we're struggling with this. It was always like, this is suspended and you have 48 hours to fix it, or your loan's denied kind of thing. Like, hey, well, how did you
why is it
get
suspended?
this?
Please tell me why.
Give me a little something other than an email going through. And I got a call from an underwriter saying, I'm really struggling with your calculations. Can you go over how you calculated your income, and I've never had that before anywhere I went to. Normally it was just like suspended, denied, paused, whatever. You'd get an email, but they wouldn't call you and say like, hey, I don't get it or whatever, So that was pretty cool.
Yeah. I remember my first year in the business, like
Which was when?
6 years ago.
Okay.
And they must have hated me because here I am, barely new, they think I don't know much, but like I was a real nerd with it. I fell in love and I was sitting on the beach reading guidelines.
Right.
And there was, underwriters denying my files for reasons, and I'd send them the guideline and be like, that's not the guideline.
Yeah.
Telling the underwriter, hey, no, that's not the guideline.
Yeah.
Whereas here I haven't had that, so.
Yeah. I used to get in fights with underwriters a lot because before I spent my time doing it, I would make sure we could do it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like even sometimes I'd email FHA.gov. I'd go in and say, hey, look, I got this scenario. Let me know if that's okay. And 24, 48 hours later, you get an email back from them saying, yeah, follow this. And then I would submit the loan and the underwriter would go, nah, you can't do that. I'm like, I got it right from the FHA. It says we can. I'm pretty sure that, But I haven't.
That's when I learned about overlays.
Yeah. Well, FHA does it, but we don't do it, What kind of customer have you found to be your traditional bread and butter? Like, are you the first-time buyer? Are you a step-up home? Are you a second home? Are you a non-QM? Or
I'm all over the place with everything, with territory, with products and stuff. I mean, I have tried to focus on kind of more, a lot of them are first-time home buyers, but more like upper range, like the $300,000 to $500,000 price range. I just usually more well qualified. Because the problem is, I mean, the first-time home buyers. There's, at the companies I was at, we didn't always do the assistant programs and stuff like that. I did a few at Annie Mac, but they were always a nightmare for me, in my experience with them. So now being over at Crown, I am starting to, open up and kind of go that route of being the, first-time home buyer guy. I got my event coming up May 11th where I have Lakeisha White from, NJF. MFA, whatever it is,
right.
Come to speak.
Blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
The state bond program.
State bond. To come speak about the grants. So
yeah,
because I think that is obviously a very big market. Where that's where most people are, and then most people want those grants and stuff. I prefer the county ones, but the problem with those, the income limits is so low.
County grants are awesome for the people that qualify for it, which is like small. You know what I mean? Like, I've done a couple of them, but it seems like almost the way that they set it up, you have to be perfect in their wheelhouse to get it. Like, you meet all the qualifications except for you make $62,000 a year, which is too much for our grant, or you make $48,000, which is perfect, but so it seems like they kind of almost have it just to say they have it kind of thing. If you can find somebody in that sweet spot, they're a great thing. Right. But now they haven't, from what I found anyway, they haven't adjusted to the current market because it's almost damn near impossible to find somebody that makes $52,000 a year that qualifies to buy a house that's not a box in Camden. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of how it is. At least NJHMFA raised their income limits. They've gone a little more with the times. The rates are still kind of low. You can still qualify somebody. So, I mean, I personally, it's kind of like a favor. You know what I mean? Like, I'll do them if that person really wants to. But the truth is, most sellers don't want to see that on the pre-qual.
Right.
Most realtors don't want to see that on the pre-qual. So if you're looking for a house that's not in a high competition area, sure, not the worst thing in the world. If you're looking for an HGTV home in a nice neighborhood, there's going to be 22 offers, and there isn't any. I'm pretty good at what I do. I can't put lipstick on that pig. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way to make that.
I know, but the problem with that is I find that realtors aren't. They're just putting it as an FHA or they're not disclosing that it's also the grant. Mm-hmm. And so they want me to do that, but it's like, I mean, you gotta let them know because now I need more than 30 days for those. And But yeah, the counties definitely should raise their income limits because it's crazy.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, yeah, how can you qualify, you know, for a house when you know, the income limit's like 40 grand?
Yeah, it's crazy. So pre-mortgage, you say you've been doing this 5 or 6 years. What did you do? How did you stumble into the mortgage industry?
Just, I, you know, always did all type of sales job. My dad was a very successful medical salesman for Henry Schein. And, you know, so I always kind of just learned from him and had his kind of persona and personality. So I figured I'd wind up in sales, and I did, you know, a lot of, you know, the not so nice side of sales.
Cell phones?
Cell phone, yeah, I worked for like a, you know, T-Mobile.
Okay.
Like I worked, it was, I made a lot of money there, but like I quit because it just didn't feel right. It was, they were selling, it's like almost kind of like tech support.
Okay.
Right? But the way in which they were doing it was not right. The tech support was good and it worked. And I found out it was actually like one of the guys from Stratton Oakmont started the company. Yeah. And so I started not feeling right about it. And I was like, this is not the way to sell it. And I quit. And it turns out like 6 months later, they got like shut down and arrested.
Yeah.
They still owed me 30 grand in commission, you know, but my sister-in-law, when we moved down here, my sister-in-law worked for Mark Honeback, shout out to Mark Honeback with Weicker in Winona. And yeah, I was at the time, I was kind of looking for a new industry. You know, I kind of wanted to, I know I still wanted to stay in sales, but I wanted a more reputable sales job where I wasn't selling knives or phones. Or,
Right,
you know.
right. Did you ever do cars?
No, I never did cars.
I did it for like 2 days. That's all. I forgot that. No way.
Yeah,
Cars, furniture.
I don't like
cell
car
phones.
salesmen, so
No.
I was like, I don't never want to be one of those.
No, no. I did furniture for a while. Furniture was really cool.
Okay.
Didn't mind furniture, but
Yeah.
car sucked.
So you know, I knew I didn't want to be an agent, but, you know, I started poking into the mortgage world inside of it, and I started reading up on it, and then I asked my sister-in-law, you know, who Mark uses for, you know, his loan officer, and that was Mark Lennard. Shout out to Mark Lennard, love him, he was a great guy. And he was like, Matt, I think you'd be perfect for this job. Come on, you're coming in tomorrow. I met Jason Leibowitz, and, you know, it was
Nice.
started, you know, after I got licensed.
Nice. And so Annie Mac was your first
Yes.
job? That's awesome. That's awesome. Jay, I worked with Jay before they were Annie Mac, when they were Village Capital. I was
Right.
there then. That was in the refi boom before people even did purchases. I've been doing mortgages for 20 years. I didn't even really do purchase business until like 2015 probably.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was all refis. It was just crushing. They
Where'd you
had,
get those refi leads from? Like, if you were just...
so at Village, back in the day, pre-Dodd-Frank, it was like boiler room. It was crazy.
Right.
So their comp plan, you're not going to believe this comp plan. Their comp plan was you paid $20,000 a month to sit in the chair. And you kept everything over $20,000 that you raked for the month.
Wow.
So the phones rang all day.
Wow.
They did mailers, they did all this stuff. And it was literally like 3 or 4 days a week, 8 o'clock at night. Phones are still ringing. You've been taking calls all day and you just want to leave. And there's only 5 people there. So you're just staying there because I'm
crazy.
Greedy as can be.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
you know, you're just staying there till the phone shut off. And that was it. So if you did $70,000 in revenue, your check was 50 grand. If you did $22,000 in revenue, your check was $2,000. That was it. You know what I mean? But it was nuts, and there was a ton of really good, talented people there. I still keep in touch with a lot of people. At one point in time, there was like really people that are still in the business now, really big names and guys that have done a lot of stuff after that. We had an awesome crew of people, but it was a free for all, and it was just literally non-stop. 9:30 the phones went on and they started ringing, and you just picked it up. There was no up system.
Yeah.
There was no nothing. If you were the first one to grab the call, and the phones, the system was in where you were licensed in. So your phone wouldn't ring if the call was coming from a state that you weren't licensed in.
That's pretty cool.
So at that time, again, it was pre the UST. So you literally, every state that you wanted to be licensed in, you had to go and take a test for. So I had to take like 27 tests to get licensed for this craziness. But they were awesome. I still talk to Jay. He's a really good dude.
Oh, Jay's the man.
Jay's funny. Yeah, I like Jay a lot. But that's pretty much crazy for the industry, just coming in, somebody bringing you in and throwing you right into the mix.
Yeah, pretty much threw me to the wolves. I mean, Mark's style was, he wasn't so much the sales guy. He was more like the process kind of underwriting guy, which was great, especially for learning. And then I was able to learn kind of, you know, how to actually do the loan.
Right.
And you know, that's actually kind of how I then focused on building my business, was not so much the cold stuff, but just the deals I would get. I would do such an amazing job that, you know, I'd win over the listing agent.
Okay.
And that's pretty much how I got all my agents. But I mean, and I want to ask you how you're doing and what you think about this market, because I'll be honest, I'm struggling.
Yeah.
You know, and it's been
tough.
Really tough.
It's tough, and it's not tough because it's crazy. It's tough because it was so good for so long. You know what I mean? Like, there have been, 4 or 5 different times of the waves where it just got slow, but it never went ever 3 points in rate in a 40 day period. You know what I mean? Like, never in my life. There were days, like the horror stories, where we woke up in the morning and went to implodometer.com, which was the website that announced all the banks that were closing, so we could find out if we still had a job and if the correspondent lenders that we were working with were still in business. That was like one of the things. But it was like, we were doing, you know, last year I was doing like 15, 18, 20 loans a month. Yeah. And then you go to like 2.
I know. I know.
You know?
I saw this coming. You know, the last 3 years I've been doing it, you know, about 10 loans a month. Yeah, during COVID was bigger. Obviously, COVID was nice, that era. But, you know, and I saw this coming, and that's kind of why I wanted to start Leave Green Tree, was because I knew I was going to need more products. I knew I was going to need, you know, I couldn't say no. I had to take every deal I can get. But I thought, okay, I would go from 15 to 10 to, all right, maybe 5, 6.
Yeah.
But there's months, it's like last month, or not last month, the month before was like 2 loans.
Yeah.
I think I got like 6 in the pipeline.
Yeah.
So it's been tough. And what I find tough too is, since every loan officer is slow, every loan officer is calling realtors. And so realtors, they want nothing to do with me. I had 15 loan officers call me today.
Yeah. Yeah. So, a few different things. That was kind of why I like doing this Mr. Mortgage thing, because it's different, and I can bring realtors in and sit down and talk to them, and I don't solicit them for business, and some of them I do business with, and some of them I don't. And there's been, I don't even know, probably 30 people that came on and were interviewed that I've never done a deal with ever before. They're just people in the real estate industry that I like to network with and talk to. And I like to add, no matter what, I want to add value. Whether we do business or not, I want to add value to the person. So I like to do that. And I really like people, you know what I mean? Yeah. So, like, I'm not a pushy salesperson. Yeah. I'm a classically trained salesperson, but I don't go out of my way to use the classic training. Like, you know, I know the boomerang theory of overcoming objections, and I can spout out all this bullshit that I learned, but I'm not that kind of salesperson. I'm more like, hey, let's be friends, let's hang out, we'll go to a Flyers game, we'll do whatever, we'll shoot the shit, and if sometime you need my services, you know what I do, I know what you do, great. If not, we'll still be cool. And I figure eventually something will happen where the person you're using will drop the ball, or they won't have a product that you need that you know we have, and they give me a call, whatever. But I'm the kind of person that, especially for realtors, I don't really ask for business that often. You know what I mean? It's just kind of implied. We're going to Topgolf. We're hanging out. What do you think we're doing? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not dating you. Right. We're talking about, you know. Yeah. But that's just the way that it is. And it's one of the things that I've been doing that I think a lot of people are doing is I make sure I coach every realtor that I work with to copy me on the offer when they email it over.
Yeah.
And the minute I get that, I'll pull over, I'll call the listing agent, and I'll talk about my buyer.
Yep.
And try to give them some story about what we're doing. Try to talk to them and associate with them. Link them up. Tell them why they're good. Tell them why, if it's FHA, why it's FHA. It's not because they're a slug or whatever. So I try to do that, and that seems to be successful. It at least gives me a 5-minute conversation with the listing agent, which starts a relationship, which I'm going to wind up soliciting for business later on down the line, for sure. At least go to Topgolf and hang out, But I do that, and I try to just be personable. And like I said, I try to help as much as I can. I believe that if I help them do anything, whether it's something silly like they need an accountant or they need a real estate based CPA,
right.
give them to them, and don't ask for anything, and don't give them some information and then follow it up with, hey, I'd like to sit down and tell you how I can help you, because it's like, I don't know. It's not like everybody has the same thing, but there aren't very many times where I sit down and talk to a realtor and I'm like, hey, this is what we do. And they're like, no shit, I never heard of that before. You know what I mean? It's like, oh yeah. Every once in a while, like we have our I-10 program that we rolled out today. That's something that I will reach out to somebody and go, hey, look, we do 3.5% down I-10. That's something that's worth talking about. Like we don't need if the credit report doesn't show any judgments, we don't need a lien search for a purchase. Right. Man, that's a big deal, because if you work at Weichert, you need a lien search on all your deals. And if you're a Weichert realtor and your deal is just got killed because your guy's got a $27,000 judgment that you didn't know about, we can do that loan. You know what I mean? So that kind of stuff I'll talk about. But I'm not really like, hey, buddy, when are you going to give me a chance? How are you going to throw one my way and let me prove my worth to you? Like, dude, that's...
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm like, I know the sales, and I've done that hard sales push, but that's what I wanted to get away from and be kind of more of an advisor. But, and that's something, like you said, too, I think, I realized, too, was some point along the way, I think I kind of stopped being helpful and a little bit more selfish. What I mean by that was, like, I used to give everyone the same amount of time a day as, but now it's like, oh, if you don't have good credit, bye, hang up, I gotta go to the next call, But I realized I was doing that for a little while during COVID when I was busy, and I was like, I can't do that, because I used to, take the time out, still show them what to do with their credit, how to at least give them a plan on how to purchase a house, and that I realized was always kind of beneficial, because they would come back to you years later, or you'd get more referrals of even people with bad credit, but it was just more people to talk to, and more stuff coming in, and eventually that would turn to stuff down the line. So I started having to take a pause and time out and just give everyone the same amount of time a day again.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk a little bit about like what you do outside of mortgage. How do you keep a level head? What do you do, like mental, spiritual, workout, pray, meditate, podcast?
Yeah.
What do you do so you don't jump off a bridge?
Yeah, that's a good question, especially right now, because that's honestly what I've been struggling with this whole past year. I've had a lot of personal things, and the fire, the house burning down. So this year has been tough, and then with business slow, I've kind of been beating myself up, not feeling good enough, not like, hey, why am I not doing more loans? There's still business out, just kind of beat myself up. So it is something I've been trying to work on out of recently. And my family's always number one, hanging out with my kids always kind of takes my mind off.
Cure all for everything.
Yeah. But I have been trying to go the more spiritual route. I used to, meditate all the time in the mornings, and I've been trying to do that recently because, my mind just feels scatterbrained, right now. And it's just like, it's not focused. I'm forgetting everything. My wife keeps yelling at me like, it's like, how many times are you going to tell me, do I have to tell you that we have this, that weekend? Or, she'll ask me to get something from the store and I forget it, She asked me yesterday to get gas for a car, I was like, oops, So I'm trying to slow down and kind of get to that, It's waiting for the warmer weather, hopefully
Yeah.
the beach will do that for me. That's always been a thing, But before the fire, we had nice big acres, 40 acres, and used to ride the quads with the kids. We have a little private beach that we go to, but luckily the rental is 2 blocks from the beach, so
Yeah,
I'm sure
that's
I'll be
nice.
walking down there.
It's nice.
Clear the head, because this business, it can beat you up. I've been thinking about doing something, call it the mortgage mental, or even for agents, because I feel like that could be the biggest
Sure.
piece of this job, sometimes, because I notice it'll affect my business absolutely.
Sure.
How focused I am, or how invested I am, how I'm feeling. If I'm feeling upbeat, then let's talk,
Yeah,
let's wheel,
yeah.
let's deal. But if I'm down, I'm just like, man,
It's amazing how quick humans, or at least people that I know, will remove the human side of it. You know what I mean? Like, we're not robots, we're not machines, we're human beings. So like, if you're having a horrible week or a horrible month, or 14 or 15 kicks in the balls in a row, you know what I mean? Like, it's hard to wake up every day and
get back
attack it. You know what I mean? Like, there is a human side of it, and I was just talking to a realtor today, and we were talking about, I just had a baby, and I was talking about, like, from 2008 to 2010, I had another daughter at that time, and like, that was all that stopped me from driving my car off a bridge. You know what I mean? Like, I would come home at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock, and I would grab my daughter, and we would go upstairs, and I would wrestle in the bed with her for half an hour, and that was my solace.
Yeah.
And like, without that, I would have been nuts.
Yeah.
And I think that we expect a lot of ourselves, but we don't realize that we're humans. We need to take that time to bring it down, whether it's meditating or praying, or I'm not religious, but whatever. I do believe in a whole manifestations, and I love sitting in the sauna for 20 minutes and listening to some mindset stuff and getting back to that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I know if I don't do that, like I did kind of stop doing that when my daughter was born, because I was doing a bunch of stuff. And just this past week, I got back to at least 3 days a week sitting in the sauna for a half an hour. I'm like, man, I can't believe how much better I feel.
Yeah.
Just that shutting the mind off, because my head goes from the minute I dream. I dream about shit. You know what I mean? Like, I wake up at 3:30 in the morning. I'm like, that's what I got to do to pay that loan off. I got to go here. Let me take notes and I can fix that. My mind doesn't stop. But I need an hour to chill.
Right. I know. That's one thing I was most upset about at the fire. I had bought a sauna for myself.
Oh man,
I'm loving it. It was fantastic, because I would say the biggest thing this year that saved my life was the gym too. I go to the gym pretty religiously every day, and that is like, because even my kids love them to death.
Right.
But my kids are
Still need time. Yeah.
Annoying. And so that's just my time where it's quiet. No mortgage talk, no kid talk, no whining. No, nothing, just me in there. So that's definitely been super helpful. And listen to those motivational speeches. But yeah, that's something I just kind of accepted that I'm slow, and by the grace of God, I have enough money, to kind of support myself until hopefully it gets busy again. So I've kind of just said, it is what it is. I'm going to focus on myself and my family a little bit,
Yeah.
Because during COVID, and, I was working super long hours.
Sure.
So much business. So it was like, all right, well, now I get a little more time with them, and, can start focusing on myself. And it is what it is, just trying to do the best we can until hopefully things get normal.
Till we're back rocking again. Yeah, for sure. All right, last question, your personal question. You wake up tomorrow morning, and a genie comes to your bed and says, you can interview any person throughout history, alive or dead, anyone who ever lived. You can have a half an hour with them. Who would the person be, and what would one question that you would ask them be?
Oof. That's something I like. I would say JFK, because that's what's coming in my head right now.
That's such an awesome answer.
Yeah, I'm a big JFK guy.
Yeah.
I would ask him who really murdered him. What?
Yeah, I'm sure he knows.
Yeah,
I'm
right.
sure he had an idea
Yeah,
of who was plotting
what's
against him.
going on, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I got a big JFK poster in my office.
Really, that's awesome.